Deciduous hardwoods, okay. This is what it looks like. Looks like that today. My group 5. Remember I told you about mad horses? Well, maple and dogwoods are simple leaves that are opposite. You can see the opposite arrangement on those buds. We saw a lot of the opposite arrangement out there. So my maples and my dogwoods are opposite arrangement, simple leaf. Red maple, very spectacular one. Norways versus sugar. When we were out there, we talked about that. On my left, your left, is my Norway. Look at the base. The base goes down like this. The sugar is relatively flat. But the helicopter part of the Sonomas are winged, and they fly very easily, where the sugar is a little bit more down. And if you break it, you'll see the milky sap in the Norway and not in the sugar. Compound leaves. What we're looking at is a compound leaf here with many different leaflets. My group 6 is compound leaves, opposite arrangements. And those are my ashes and my horse chestnuts. And if we remember mad horses are the opposite of what you want them to do. Right, Hillary? Right. That's right. Maple, ashes, dogwoods, and horse chestnuts. So, usually the horse chestnut you're going to find on a front lawn. Usually it's an old ornamental. The ash is one that you don't want to confuse with the hickory. The ash is an opposite arrangement. Here's my horse chestnut. Group 7. This is the biggie. This is when all bets are off. There's no way to break this down easy. Leaves are simple. They're alternate arrangement. They are the most common group. The aspen, we saw the beeches out there, we saw birches. We didn't see any chestnuts, but I definitely would recommend that you learn what an American chestnut looks like. It's usually a leaf about 5 to 6 inches long. It has a very serrated edge. And the way I remember it is, if I wanted to build a chest of drawers, I need a large rip saw. It usually has a dead snag around it because the American chestnut pretty much died at the turn of the century. We have the chestnut blight, and those trees that we're finding in the woods are the stumps of 100-year-old trees. Crab apples, usually that's more of an ornamental planting. Hawthorn, I think there's a couple hawthorns checked on. They're a lighter tree. Usually they're coming up as an ornamental tree in our urban forest because there's less insect and disease problems. When I say urban forestry, that might light a little light bulb because the major problem this year deals with urban and community forestry. So someone's going to talk to you in April on urban and community forestry, but it doesn't hurt when you do any type of forestry to start looking over some of the information on urban forestry. What type of trees do they plant in a community? Why are trees important? We normally talk about trees are important because they're watershed protection. They give us oxygen. They give us a whole variety of different things. Well, in an urban area, they also give oxygen. They deplete pollution. They control water problems. They control crime in neighborhoods because areas are a lot better. They calm traffic down, which sounds pretty bizarre. The tree jumps out and barks at the person and says, stop. Actually, what it does is, think of driving on Route 95. How fast do you go? Just because it says 95, you're not supposed to do 95, but you'll drive relatively fast because there's no obstruction. Then you get through a treed neighborhood. You're not going to drive 95 through there because you have more obstacles. So the trees actually calm traffic down. So they started putting hawthorns in, and they started planting some of the larger trees again. Great ornamental trees. My oaks, my sycamores, and like I said, there's a slew of more. My oaks, my reds and whites, And we had talked about the reds and the whites. The red family has pointed leaves. The white family has wounded leaves. So white is wounded, you silly rabbits. Red and those things are more of a sharp one. Birches, where people get confused on the birches are the grays and the whites. We went out there and we looked at a gray birch that almost had an off-white coloration in the bark, but it looked a little bit off. Look at the leaf. Now, when we have the Envirothon, we usually try to have it with leaves on. So mid-May, hopefully we'll have leaves, and because we're going to Champlain Scout Reservation in Cranston, it's an urban area, I would say that we'll have leaves. Your gray birch has a triangular type of leaf, and your white birch has just more of your standard type of leaf. Group 8 are regular compound leaves, alternate arrangement. Ailanthus, I don't think we covered that in the thing. Black walnut, butternut. Probably the ones you have to be concerned about are the hickory and the locust. Compound leaves, alternate arrangement. Black walnut, your locust. These are your hickories. You can see the difference in between your shagbark and your pignut hickory. We looked at pignut hickory out there. 5 leaves, 5 to 7 leaflets. But look at the bark. I mean, when they named it, it wasn't rocket scientists. It's a shaggy bark, shagbark hickory. So go out and explore and look for that pot of gold. Any questions on that? That's tree ID, quick and dirty. I break them down into 4 major groups for each discipline. Conifers, evergreens, gymnosperms, naked seeds. Number 1 in that group is bundles of needles, pines. If it doesn't come in a bundle, don't think pine. If it comes in a bundle, start thinking pine. Number 2 is a deciduous evergreen. So if I look at something like the larch or the Durham redwood and it starts changing color, my Durham redwood in the front yard is changing color now. Doesn't make any sense if it's an evergreen. So my Durham redwood, my larch. Group number 3 is my grouping of basically conifers. My hemlocks, my single needle ones, my spruces, my firs. My group number 4 deals with those other ones that are all shape, scaly type of ones. So my cedars would fit in there, my junipers would fit in there, my cypresses. That is my conifer grouping. My deciduous trees, I look at opposite arrangement, simple leaf. My maples and my dogwoods, which is a big group in Rhode Island. This is a clue. Red maple happens to be the single most common tree in Rhode Island. Norway maple happens to be the most single popular tree found in an urban forest. A clue, a clue. Okay, moving on. We have compound leaves that are opposite, which is basically my ashes and my horse chestnut. Simple leaves, alternate arrangement is basically most of my other ones. My aspen, my beeches, my birches, things along that line. Compound leaf, alternate arrangement, my hickories and my locusts. Any questions on that? That's a real quick and dirty. I have found it to be an easy way to do tree identification as opposed to memorization. You still need the book. And for the amount of money that those books cost compared to Peterson's or some of the other big tree ID books, they're fairly good for both the urban and the rural settings. Probably 90% of the trees that you'll see that are fairly common are found in that book. Any questions at all? Any questions on the syllabus for Will that he's thrown out at you? Yeah. I have a list of trees, know them.
All these,
All those trees.
should we focus on others of the 50 or specifically these ones?
Those trees, are there more than 50 on that? It's the same as I had last year. I think you underlined some, or did you? That's for the middle school, and I'll. Right. Right, they're a combination.
Because we had the list of 52.
From where?
There's not 52, but you had the list of 50 on the Envirothon website.
Okay.
Should we focus on these 36?
Focus on both of them, okay?
Okay.
You know,
Okay. I don't know, Will or Paul, are either of you going to talk about silviculture practices today?
Not today, probably.
you have a glossary of terms.
Yeah, there's the two last sheets there. You'll find some resources in there. Check out.
Wait a minute.
So we still have, I think, was it last year? Yeah, is that chicken? No.
There's ducks in there. You're looking at ducks. I would assume that you'll have a question or two on a silvicultural practice. Probably a cutting type of practice, whether it's a seed tree. You have selective harvest, which is you would go in and mark individual trees.
Right, I'm just saying, are you good, is that part of?
I would recommend to the coaches that if you want more information about something that's on the syllabus that was not covered here, that you contact a forester and have them contact Will, have them come into your school and talk to your team.
We have a mentor program for forestry. So if you contact Chris Modisette at that number, the 822-8877, he'll be able to assign a forester for your region. We have 7 or 8 foresters that are more than willing to do that. But silvicultural practices would be covered on the exam. And like I said,
That's the big question on that.
Check the references.
Okay.
And if you don't find.
Well, I know lots of foresters, no problem.
yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to know if it's because even though you didn't cover it today, some of that information is there.
Right. And it's very helpful to know some of those practices because are you developing a management plan for them to do? Okay, so somewhere along the line in that management plan, if we looked at this tract of land and I said, I need to generate money, what can I do? And I want to encourage birds, you'll say, well, do a seed tree harvest. You'll have to explain to us what a seed tree harvest or a shelterwood harvest is.
Any further questions or follow-up?
Ask them now, because you're not going to be able to talk to us after 10:30, or maybe 12. Yeah.
What was the name of the person and the number?
It should be on the end, the last part of the page. Did you put that in? Okay. No, that's my office. What you would end up doing is, you would call Chris Modisette. Coaches, 822-8877.
Any last questions? You can always contact me. I'm going to give, bring some business cards. They can.
Leave business cards right with the Envirothon thing.
I do have to send out this other custodians here, and, yeah, check the references, and if you need further assistance, go forward and contact me or my forester. But everything in that syllabus, will be on the exam.
Yeah. Any further questions? I'm here until 12. You know? All right.